Welcome back, South Philly Sauce, an Odyssey original brought to you by 94 WIP and Jack Daniels. Ashlyn and Al here with you. A lot of Flyers news going on as Rick Tocchet has been announced as the head coach. We had an episode late last week announcing him after the press conference. So the Flyers are in full swing, getting that all situated, and a lot of marketing, a lot of media, trying to get the word out. And it seems like Flyers fans are excited that this is done and moving forward. But Al, there are some changes to the Phantoms, which has been really interesting to watch. And I think people are a little confused with the shakeup there. What have you seen?
Well, I mean, Ian LaPerriere is not coming back as the coach. I'd probably stay in the organization. But that's a pretty big change when you're talking about developing players. So obviously they're changing, I want to say everything, but most things. It's like, let's get everything in line here. That's got to be a tough move when you've got a guy that popular, literally laid it out on the line for the team so many times, broke his face with a shot, basically. So, I mean, I think it's just another indication that we're in phase, whatever it is now, let's say phase 2, to get things going. And it was a pretty, had to be real difficult to make that move. But I think they're obviously looking ahead to see what's coming up with talent, how it's going to develop, what kind of coach they want, and how they want things to mesh with their team up here under Tocchet as the head coach.
Yeah, it definitely a lot of changes. And I think that was a big name to see make the move. And I think fans were a little confused why it's happening. And it's definitely going to impact the progression of these younger guys, especially when that's such a crucial thing in the organization right now with a Bonk and really all of these guys that the Flyers are counting on here, maybe even as soon as this season. Yeah,
you want a consistent message throughout, I guess, is what you're looking at here to get things done. You mentioned, Bonk came in last year for a bit for just a look early at the training camp, and you've got Barkey coming up. You've got a lot going on here. Andre's still down there. You've seen guys come back, bounce back and forth. And some players developed and kind of added. It's an important position, Ashlyn, to have that consistent message going through on what you're looking for in your organization. So, I mean, I think it's just another indication of where they think they are in their program or development as an organization on turning the page to the next chapter.
Definitely agree with that. And we have seen the Flyers at Worlds, and some progress there has been made, especially with Tyson Foerster, who was a little quiet, I think, to start, but has really come on the scene, which is cool to see. A young guy who really isn't that young anymore when you look at it in the Flyers organization, a guy that they are counting on. And with Tyson, I think what's the most encouraging thing with Foerster is every season he takes a step, which is all you can ask when he came in with that insane shot. We were wondering how he was going to keep this up. And, well, maybe it hasn't been the biggest steps in the world. They're steps.
Yeah, but you look at it, you go to the World Championships, and because players like McKinnon and Crosby, I mean, great players not playing, go over to the World Championships. I think they're split between Stockholm and Denmark, actually, in this case, to play. And they're into their, they've finished their first rounds. They're going, but with Foerster, I think what you see is what it looks like when you've got the top line centerman, the top line playmakers. And this is where the Flyers want to be headed in terms of getting guys that can make plays to set up guys like Foerster to get them going. Michkov, obviously, to get them going. I think what you look at when you look at the Worlds, and Konechny's played very well, a lot of points in 7 games. Sanheim, I believe, leads again in ice time for Canada. So, I mean, I think what you're seeing is this is what we potentially have on our wings, on our sides, when we're looking for that next step. We did mention the next step with the Phantoms, the next step, whenever it's going to be, to get that centerman to kind of set these guys up. So when you look at Foerster, if you look at video from the Worlds, if you happen to catch it on NHL Network or however you want to look at it, you'll see what it looks like when you've got that top-notch guy to set you up, kind of set you free in terms of getting your shot off, where you're going to go. And that's what they're hoping to get in the future when they kind of solidify that middle position.
Yeah, most definitely the hope with Tyson Foerster and the progress we've seen with him, which has been substantial the past couple of seasons, even for him to be in the Worlds and to be a highlight. And watching SportsCenter, seeing his progress has been cool to see. And it makes the Flyers look really good. But I think something that I don't want to say confusing is the word because it's not confusing in the grand scheme of things, but the Carter Hart trial updates for someone who isn't following along very closely. I can understand why some Flyers fans are like, what in the world is happening? Because it seems like there's a drastic change in the trial every single week. And I would agree with them. It's been changing a 180, it seems like weekly.
Yeah, this is because it's in Canada and it's hockey, which isn't covered as closely down here in the States. This is worthy of a HBO, Netflix, or whatever. We've now had 2 juries dismissed. 2, not yet. First time unheard of. Second jury dismissed. So now there's no jury. It's the judge taking it because it really wouldn't have been fair, however you want to look at this thing, to have this young woman go through this again. If they're going to start over again with a jury, there's been enough going on. And now you have a case where one of the Crown being, who's bringing the case in Canada, it's called the Crown, bringing the case. And one of the defense witnesses, the Crown is unhappy with and wants to basically try him for a misremembering or feigning, whatever the word feigning a memory is. It's like, this has turned into a very chaotic situation. I don't read tea leaves in anything like this, or one side or the other. I just hope justice is served in this thing. But it is a very confusing situation right now when the Crown's old witnesses, or bringing the people who want to make the case, are worried about their representative here, or their person who's supposed to bring it forward. They're not trusting, and the judge is saying, well, a couple of times I can see some of this. It's basically, well, you said this previously, now you're saying you don't quite remember. Well, don't forget, this is 2018. Yeah, to kind of bring these things forward. So, I'm not leaning one way or the other, but it's pretty clear to me that people who thought this was a cut and dried, these guys are not going to be able to play ever again. I don't know about that. After reading what's gone on here, it's a very complicated situation. It's an unfortunate situation, obviously, but I'm not so sure that you're not going to be looking at a case at the end of this where certainly all 5 of them, whatever the case is, it's not, after following this, it is nowhere near clear cut to me with what's going on right now.
Very much so. Chaotic is a great word to use in this situation. And to the point now, at least from what I'm reading and trying to understand from all of it, that now it's just up to one judge, correct? That there will be no longer a jury. There will not be opinions of other people. It's one person making the decision, which is crazy. It's come to this, a case this big with this much publicity boils down to the decision of one person. Yeah,
but you really can't. I mean, I can understand where the judge is saying, this woman's been through this now. This is the second jury. If you start again, you've got to start over, basically. It's really, really unfair to see that go on. And I think that's the case here with what's gone on. But it was so weird on why it would happen. Like the one of the jurors says, well, the defense attorneys looked at us and like we're making fun of us. I'm like, I've never heard of anything like this. It's wild what's gone on and some of the answers that are coming out. It's well, I'll tell you, it's a real case study in trying to be fair about things. But boy, if you just look at it objectively, like I said, I'm really not convinced that this is what everybody thought at the beginning. It was just going to be a case of like, this is going to be a case where these guys will never see the light of day again in terms of hockey careers. I'm leaning the other way in this situation right now.
I think most people are, and you have to think, well, this isn't important right now. If they were to play hockey again and everything that has happened in here, how can they even play hockey right now? Like, have they been training? Have they been skating? What have they been doing? Like, they're all such talented players, but it seems like they haven't played in so long.
Yeah, a couple of them, Footer and certainly Carter Hart. I mean, I'm sure, he's a rink rat. I don't know his workout schedule, whatever, but if this thing comes to a close within the next 4 or 5 weeks around the time of the draft or whatever, Boy, I'm not so sure you wouldn't be having a conversation of if it goes one way or the other. Obviously, if they're found that they're culpable, it's over. But if they're not, if you're not wondering where's the goalie going to play, in which case, then we've got a huge question here in Philadelphia.
Yeah. And it's a massive conversation at that point. If they are innocent, that is something we'll discuss at that time. But talk about drama in Toronto. Watching that game, embarrassing might be the word, uncompetitive. How can you have Game 7 in Toronto, all the hype, everything they've ever wanted, everything they've ever wished for, and show up in the way that they did in a massive loss to the Panthers? It wasn't even competitive. It was a boring game. It was the worst Game 7 I've ever watched. Like, how embarrassing for Toronto to end it like this.
Yeah, they've gone through, I don't know how many Game 7s now where they've now, or elimination situations where Brett Marchand basically schools them. But it was very curious because they had such a horrible game previously there, and everybody wrote them off, and they go back and they bring it back to a Game 7. You have to wonder if the kind of team they are doesn't have the stuff to go into a Game 7, despite all the talent. Matthews got a big goal in the previous game. Did he even, you wonder, did he show up? I thought he did fairly well defensively, but, he's there to score goals. And that doesn't happen. And they got goaltending. So, you got to question. I think they have to question now. Everybody's wondering about Mitch Marner coming back. I do think they're going to have to change the core of that team. What I will not buy is this team, I thought that the Florida coach, Maurice, I thought he was kind of being nice to the Leafs afterwards. Said this was closer than it looked, and other players saying it's so tough to play in Toronto. I don't buy that. I just don't. You're a professional athlete. The media anymore, it doesn't work. If you can play football in Philadelphia, baseball in Boston or New York, anything in Chicago, you ought to be able to handle the quote spotlight in Toronto on what's gone on, or Vancouver of what's gone on. It's not what a lot of this is from they'll never get out of the media attention. There is, comparatively to previously, there is none. You don't even go in the locker room basically after a game, very minimally. You've got a lot of when you quote media anymore, you've got a lot of
soft.
Yeah, you do. It's kind of set up for you. There's barriers that are put to media now. It's nothing like it was previously, where you go head to head.
Other sports.
Yeah, you look at it, it's like nothing. I understand Toronto. If Montreal, Toronto, it is tough. The toughest stuff is probably off the ice stuff, where you do something, and everybody's got a phone. You can't go out. Now the Leafs are getting some heat because they went to some golf club afterwards after the loss. So what? They're out. Doesn't much matter. That's
home and cry. Yeah.
Yeah, but you've got to be mentally tough enough. I think that's being used a little bit as a crutch afterwards on what's gone on. But when you listen to guys talk, you wonder, they knew that they were missing something for a playoff. They're Craig Berube is the coach. He'll bring this to the attention of whatever front office is left afterwards, that they just don't have that stuff in that kind of situation. That's why Lawton was brought in. He wasn't not going to be we know he's not going to be a big goal scorer or anything, key goal maybe, but at crunch time he shows up. Mm-hmm. And I think they realize they need
as a glue guy. Yeah.
Right. And I think you put it perfectly. I think they need a little bit more glue to put those pieces together. Certainly don't want to, with that talent they have, I don't think Marner will be coming back despite his talents. I think they just have to shake up the chemistry. And I'll be curious how much input Craig Berube has as the coach, because I think he saw up close what's gone on here. So yeah. I don't feel bad for the Leafs. It's like okay, you had a great, you got some great talent, but you crumbled in that game 7. If you can lose, but man, you got schooled in a couple of huge games in front of your home fans. So we'll see if they can. I think they're going to just change some of that chemistry. So look at Florida. That's the kind of guys. Now, to me, if you told me there's 2 free agents available, Marner or Bennett, I'm taking Bennett.
Agreed.
Because I've got a good team that's going to the playoffs. I'm going to probably get them for $5 million less a year, and it's like, okay, I need that. Now in that case, I'm doing that. If I'm a team trying to need some skill, okay, Marta. But if I'm where they are, you look at the trade deadline. They pick up Marchand. Marchand's crucial, even though in Boston at times didn't get through. But he's that kind of player, and I think that's what the Leafs need.
I agree. I think it's a great example for everyone that would get frustrated at times, and rightfully so, because I think if anyone has a crutch with the Flyers, it's that they are a glue team, that they have chemistry, they're together. And it shows, I think, with Toronto, while everyone wishes to have more talent on this Flyers team, and that's a worthy ask, just having talent isn't enough. And I think that was what Torts and this Flyers organization has been trying to do the past couple of years, is set the foundation, get it where it needs to be. Because if you just flooded in this team with free agents, well, you're at Toronto and it's playoffs, but in the grand scheme of things, are you accomplishing what you want to accomplish? No.
Yeah, well, we'll see what here. I mean, you got to get the talent, obviously. We talked about that at center, but you have to have that glue, obviously, and that's where I think the Leafs certainly are going to be looking for this year. Yeah. We'll see what happens with the Flyers.
Like you need a Hathaway. Like, is a Hathaway going to be a guy that's talked about on SportsCenter, during a playoff run? No, but we know, covering the team, what a guy like that means to a locker room. So I think they need a little more of that.
Yep, they could use that, and we'll see if they make those moves in the offseason.
Yes, we will see. It's been interesting stuff, that's for sure. That Dallas Stars game the other night, that was electric. That was really cool to see that many goals in one period. That's going to be an awesome series as well. It's been exciting stuff. Has your opinion changed of who's going to win it all out?
Yeah, I look at it now. I like Dallas, but even though Edmonton kind of, Dallas had a good game, I still think the Oilers. I look at it like, we got the two great players there. The goaltending's been okay. They seem to be able to rebound. I know Florida's going to be really, really tough. You see what's going on. But I think the problem's going to be with Florida is you can tell Matthew Tkachuk is not 100%.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
And I think as they move, I'm presuming they move in or they move to the finals. I think that's going to be tough to make up for at that point. So if I look for a rematch, and I look for Edmonton to be able to get through that. So I'm going to throw my opinion behind the Oilers right now.
I like it. We'll see what happens. It's been really exciting to watch this playoff run, that's for sure. And that is South Philly Sauce, an Odyssey original, brought to you by 94 WIP and Jack Daniels. We'll see you next week.